Is it possible to achieve financial stability as a freelancer? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel once again. Today's topic is finances. Now, finances is a term or a word that stops some of us in their tracks and stops some of us even from pursuing their careers and pursuing their dreams of becoming a freelancer. But this doesn't have to be the case. Financial literacy is something that is generally not taught you in school or at university, right? It's generally something we have to learn either by ourselves or from friends, families, or colleagues. So what I want to achieve with this video is creating a source of information for you as aspiring freelancers where you can learn as much as possible about finances in a YouTube video. Of course, there is always more. You need to do your own research as well, depending on where you come from. But I can definitely give you some advice that I learned over the years, how to understand finances, how to properly budget, manage your finances as a freelancer, and living financially free. Now, same as with any financial video, I have to put the big disclaimer here. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial advisor. Everything I'm going to say in this video is from my own opinion. Take it as you will, take it as information, but definitely with a grain of salt. So don't just rely on things that I do will work for you as well. This is just information purposes. All information given in this video is from the perspective of a sole trader, of an eenmansak, of a one-person company, whatever it's called in your country. If you build a company with a company structure, a legal structure, that's completely different. So just bear in mind, everything I say is from the view and from the framework of being a freelancer. So when it comes to a freelancer's income, the word instability, unfortunately, often comes right along there with it, right? It is the unfortunate truth that for many of us, we don't have a stable income, right? It really depends on how much you work per month. And when you're doing something seasonally affected, for example, like photography or catering or something, that's very seasonal. You might have a lot of orders and events in the summer and then much less in the winter. And you need to balance that out somehow, right? So you're not only working for the current month, like you would in an employed position, you just get your monthly income, but you have to look at it holistically over the whole year, right? Now, me I work in the language service field, the translating field. I don't have so my work is not seasonally affected, but I'm affected in another way, right? Sometimes my clients have work one month and then nothing the next month. So I need to be able to balance that out somehow. So how can you create a financial baseline that you can use to create a sustainable way of living if you don't have this stable income that you would have in an employed position? Even though your income might vary from month to month and do this sometimes, throughout the year, your expenditures, they don't have to do this, right? It's key to find a balance between the income doing this and the expenditure having a much smaller curve, doing only something like this, right? So if you manage to do that, if you keep your expenditures down and if you keep them relatively level-headed throughout the year, this gives you at least some kind of stability. Your income might not be stable, but if your expenditures are stable, that gives you some kind of stability. Because for most of us, for me included, your expenses, they are not dependent on your income, right? So if I have a month that is going extremely well, I'm not just going to randomly spend much more in that month. Maybe that's your thing, that's fine, but then this advice doesn't work for you, right? For me, my expenses are relatively the same every month. Some months are higher than other months over the year. That I know that. For example, December is usually the biggest spending month because a lot of administrative stuff comes in. You have to pay yearly expenses, you have to buy gifts, you have to travel usually if you live abroad. But I know that, so I calculate that in already, because as I said, you look at it as a whole year. So my advice would be look at the past year, if you've already been freelancing for a year now, and take the least earning month that you worked full-time, I say full-time on purpose, and take that as a baseline. Now, why do I say full-time? Because it doesn't make sense to take a month when you took holidays or when you were sick. For example, April this year, I only worked 1 week, and the rest I was in Argentina traveling the country, right? So it wouldn't make sense for me to take the revenue of April as a baseline because that's not representing the realistic output, right? If I take the least earning month full-time baseline, then the April and the other months when I took holidays is balanced out by the most earning months, right? So it makes sense to take the least earning month. And once you have figured out this revenue from this month, you can make your calculations and make your budget based on this amount. And then at least you know what you need in order to sustain your lifestyle that you live now, right? I know this number in my head, right? So every month I know where I need to get to kind of break even, to pay all my expenses, to live comfortably, to put some money aside. That's my break-even point. But it's important that you realize that this is not the time in the month then to just lean back and relax and enjoy and take time off. Of course you can, if you don't want to save money and you just want to live paycheck to paycheck, that's fine. That sounded a bit condescending. It's not even meant that way. Some people just really want to use their 20s and 30s to just have as much free time as possible. That's perfectly fine. What I mean is, once I reach this benchmark, it's kind of a little satisfaction thing in my head, right? Okay, I've done this, and what I earn now is profit. So for me, it's kind of motivating to then go in even harder, because I did kind of the necessary thing this month, and now I can go for profit. And once you create profit as a freelancer, that's how you can actually build your financial freedom. One thing to keep in mind that's important, and sometimes people forget, is that you're paid not for the work you're actually doing this month, but you're paid next month for the work you're doing now, right? So when I was in Argentina, I was not working a lot and obviously not making a lot of money, but still a lot of money came into my accounts because my March was really good and my invoices went out already. So in April, I was paid for my work in March. And that can be sometimes dangerous because you get a lot of money in and you think, oh, wow, I can spend, especially when you're traveling, you don't really think of it. And then in May, even though it was the best month of the year, was May for me, almost no money came in because in April, I didn't work that much, right? So even though May was my biggest earning month this year, I had to, make some arrangements because the money from April came in. As you can see, it can be confusing sometimes, and I can really tell you the most important thing to stay on top of finances as a freelancer is to document everything. Document everything. Trust me, if you don't document, you will lose track of your finances, of your life, and it will be much harder for you, really. Tracking your income and your expenses as well meticulously can be a bit tedious in the beginning, but it becomes kind of a habit. And once it's a habit, it's just normal. It's just once you buy something or at the end of the day, you just track your expenses and that's it. And even if you forget it once, like a full week, if you go on holiday or whatever, and you don't really feel like tracking it daily, that's perfectly fine. After a week, you can just put an estimated lump sum in the document, and even if it's not completely correct, at least it adjusts a bit, and it's not going to skew your whole overall statement of the year. It's maybe not exact to the euro, but that doesn't matter. It's more or less exact. Now, I know that there are plenty of tools and apps nowadays that help you with that, and feel free to check it out and use them. Now, I still prefer to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm not sure why. I just started that way and it became a habit. So I use Excel for my income and I use Google Sheets on my phone with the app for my expenses. My income sheet is at the same time my order tracking sheet. So whenever a job comes in, I put it in there in the Excel. It's a very simple Excel with rows for due date, due time, client, service, entity, volume, price, and whether it's a total price and whether it's invoiced or not. So every job that comes in, I put in there, and that's also in the morning when I wake up, start my workday, I look at this sheet and I see what's due today, tomorrow, the next day. So I know exactly when to work on what. Of course, it has some drawbacks because if I miss to put one in there, I will forget it and the client will not be happy. So I really need to be meticulous about that and track every single job in there. But I've gotten pretty good at it, so it's fine. And my expenses, I have an app, like I use the Google Sheets app for that. I have a very simple Sheets file with different rows for different expenditures like food, clothes, tickets, going out, gifts, travel, business expenses, etc. So whenever I spend something that is a bit of a bigger amount than usual, I put it in there. For smaller things like going to a cafe for working or for food shopping, I just have lump sums in there because I know more or less what I pay a month for these things. So I don't track every single coffee, I just have this amount for this month in coffee shops, this amount for this month in the supermarket, etc. And it's usually more or less correct. This does not only allow me to have a clear overview of my spendings at the end of the year, it also allows me to create a P&L, a profit and loss statement. That's generally not needed as a freelancer. You're not obliged to do that. If you're a company, you have to report on that. But I still do it because it's nice to treat you as a business. That also helps you with keeping financial literacy at the top of your mind if you treat your work as a business and your private life as a personal life. So I always create a little profit and loss statement at the end of the year. I also always make a video about it. So for me, it's doubly beneficial anyways, but I'm sure for you it will also be interesting to see some stats if you also like numbers like me and statistics, etc. One thing to keep in mind there is that more revenue doesn't necessarily mean more profit, if you know what I mean. So revenue means what you gain from your work, right? Every job creates something and that's your revenue, your gross revenue. And then you deduct taxes, social security and your expenses. And what is left over is the profit. Now, if you have you have more gross revenue, it means more profit, but it doesn't have to be, because if you, for example, have a bit less revenue than last year, but you manage to push your expenditures down, you can have more profit, right? It's the difference in between that matters. Or maybe you manage to get into the lower tax bracket and you have to pay lower taxes. Even though you didn't make more money than last year, you can still make more profit. It's really interesting. So revenue doesn't really mean anything. It's a good indication. It tells you which tax bracket you're in. But if you can manage to keep your expenses really low, you can make a lot of profit with little revenue. Speaking of taxes, social security and everything that's recurring every month, you know, your rent, etc. Some things come in every month and you're aware of these expenses. You know exactly, more or less, you know what you have to pay, what you're owed, what is not your money. And the best thing for me and also for my colleagues that I talk to is have different accounts, different vaults in your bank account, in your banking app, whatever you use. If you use a banking app, you can generally have more sub-accounts within your account. If you use financial apps like Revolut or Monzo is another one, there you can have vaults or pillars, they're called. I'm not exactly sure, or pots or something, or they're called in Monzo, where you can just allocate the name to this vault and then put money in there. Especially for taxes and social security allocations, I highly recommend it. It is so helpful. Let's make a quick calculation. So I would always recommend to calculate this generously. So let's say I would always put 10% more than you actually think you have to pay on an account. So if you make €1,000 revenue 1 month, depending on where you live, you maybe have to pay 30% taxes on it and 10% social security. So 40% of this revenue of this €1,000 goes away. I would then recommend to put 10% more. So I would, from these €1,000, I would put €500 away to an account that is called taxes, social security. And then you know that you cannot touch this money. And even if you then don't all use it, right? If you pay your taxes, pay your social security, and you have something less, the 10% should be left technically. You can put it back on your account, but you will definitely never run out of money to pay that is not yours. And it's a good way to know, because if it's in your bank account, you might think, oh wow, I have this €1,000, I can just buy a new iPhone or something. Don't do that, by the way, it's not worth it. But in general, you maybe think this is your money, but it's not. If you're in an employed position and you have withholding tax, then you don't even see this money. You just get paid what is yours. But as a freelancer, you have to put this away and then pay it to the state. And with the remaining €500, you can do your budgeting of the month. I would also recommend to do this for things like a safety fund I would always keep stacked. So in case you lose everything, you have at least half a year to live from, that's always good. Especially if you do investing, I would not invest everything in whatever real estate or ETFs or stocks or whatever. Always keep a security fund in your bank account. So if everything fails, you at least have half a year to figure out what else to do, right? Sorry, my memory card was full, and in the meantime it went from beautiful sunny sky to rainstorm, so I had to turn on the light. So different surroundings, but let's continue. Where was I? So yes, just build as many vaults and accounts in your bank account that you can, and allocate grocery money, investment money, whatever you want to save for a house, etc. So you have a much better idea which money is for which purpose, and that helps you achieve financial independence as well, because you can then, the leftover that you have not allocated, you can put to your saving account. Be careful with credit cards. It's still a very expensive trap, I feel like. Whenever you can avoid it, you should, because we already get delayed payment from our work, so you don't also want to delay your expenses. That's gonna create some trickiness. I know it's tempting sometimes, because you think, oh, next month I'm getting paid for all the work I'm doing now, so why not charge the credit card? But I don't know. You will, whenever the credit card gets charged from your account, it's not the right time, so definitely be careful with that. As a freelancer, you mostly just make money when you're working for your time, right? We all know that. That is a problem in a way, because if you are another business owner that has a bigger business with employees that work for you, then you're generating something all the time, even if you're not working, also in the night, you know. For us, usually you're paid for the time you spend on your business. And for someone, I mean, we are freelancers for a reason. We also want to enjoy our free time, enjoy our flexibility, right? So I really wanted to come up with a system that makes money for me 24/7, not only for the time that I invest. And that's a big reason why I came up with this YouTube channel, and that has created now an ecosystem, and now it's generating income, right? Even if I don't contribute, even if I stopped making videos now, they would still be on YouTube and work, like the money would work for me all the time. And I have different opportunities came up, investment opportunities, speaking engagements, etc. So try to figure out a way that you can generate something not only for your time, but also passively. If you are a business person and you want to look out for your future, you know, maybe have a house, have a family, etc. As a freelancer, you have to look out for yourself. No one will help you with any kind of pension funds, etc. You know, we cannot rely on pension. You have to do that yourself. A good way is investing in real estate or in capital as well. If you haven't started ETF index investing, I would definitely recommend doing that. Years ago now, I made a video with Sandy on the channel. You can click here about ETF investing. It's great, it's easy, it's low cost, so it's a great way to start, at least putting your money somewhere where it can work. You know, it can work for you and not you for the money. If you keep it on a bank account, it will just have a negative interest, and with inflation it will lose value every year, right? So I would definitely not recommend. Just your safety fund and your everyday expenses have on your bank account. The rest should work somewhere for you. So as you can see, taking charge of finances goes much further than just money coming in, money going out. It's not that simple. Unfortunately, we live in a world where money rules everything. So we can't just be, of course, we sometimes want to be just the artist, the creative, the language specialist that just leans back and does the creative work, right? But that doesn't work. If you're a business owner, you have to have the financials on top of your mind. Whether we like it or not, taking the initiative to start understanding your own finances is key. Financial stress is some of the worst stress in your life. I can guarantee you that. Like, there is nothing else you can really think of if your basic needs are not met. Because if you don't have your basic needs met, then you do everything to make that happen, and you become very bad in other aspects of your life. You might lose some relationships over that, right? So really be careful with that. There's kind of this misconception that if you're a creative freelancer, you shouldn't know about business and you shouldn't care about business mindset, financial mindset. If you're good enough, everything will fall into place. Fair enough, but still you can do so much, especially also with like hiring an accountant. I save so much money, even though I pay this person quite a lot in the year, but they save me much more. So also think this way, think future minded. Not everything that leaves your bank account is necessarily money going out. If I pay my accountant 1,500 euros, that's technically going out, but afterwards the tax refund is much bigger, so the money comes back as well. So sometimes you have to invest to make money back. So take your finances into your own hand. I hope this video is useful. The start of 2024 is right around the corner. Great excuse, let's say it, or great starting point to take your finances into your own hand. Achieve financial freedom, achieve financial greatness, even with an unstable income. It is possible, and go from there. Good luck. See you next Monday with the next video. Bye bye.